Hello. We will just wait for a couple more people to join and then we will get started. To put a message on Facebook saying that we're ready to go. Hi Abigail. Might be a quiet one today if everyone's out getting petrol. Although they could sit in their car and listen whilst they get it, I suppose. Cool, I'll just give it another minute or two. Try and drum up anyone that's not made it yet. Cool. So we will get going. If people want to join in as we go, then they can do. So posture. To start with, let's look at what is posture. And our posture is the way that we carry ourselves, the way that we move day to day, and it's either static or it is dynamic. So that's something that I put on the Facebook post if you saw that before sort of signing up here. And static posture would be the stuff that we're doing when we are standing or when we are sitting. So yeah, when I'm sitting at my desk, am I sitting like this? Am I sitting nice and tall? Those kind of things. Our dynamic posture is more how we stand, how we lie. So not how we lie, sorry, how we stand and we lie is our static. Our dynamic is how we're walking and how we are moving around or picking things up. Hi Davino, thanks for joining. A few other people have joined now. So if you missed the start, we were just talking about the difference between static and dynamic posture. Moving on from that. So when we're looking at good posture, what is good posture? If you've got some ideas, then feel free to put it on the comments of what you think good posture is. One of the things that we'd look for with kind of good posture would be that our head is stacked on top of our body. As soon as we're bringing our head forward like that, our head feels like it weighs more to our body. So when it's kind of directly on top of our body, it weighs about 10 to 12 pounds. As soon as we're lifting and moving our chin forward, that causes our head to effectively weigh more for our body, putting more tension and pressure on the muscles at the front of our neck and the muscles at the back of our neck. And obviously that can then lead to pain. So this is similar to if you've ever been carrying something heavy, someone said to you, oh, this is heavy, carry this. You'll try and keep it close to your body because it feels easier, it almost feels lighter. If you're trying to carry something really heavy out in front of you, you're going to feel that more in your arms. And it's the exact same thing if our head's here versus our head being on top. We've also got strong ligaments that help keep our head kind of straight and static without us having to use our muscles loads to do that. We can get away with ligaments doing that for us, but we can't if we're like that the whole time. We also look for, with good posture, a small kyphotic curve. So that's sort of in this part of our back here at the top. I'd kind of expect to see just a little bit of a curve. Nothing too much, but a bit of a curve. We then move down and we expect in our lumbar spines, that's our lower back, to see, again, another curve, but the opposite way, so almost like a curve in. And that's the main things that we're kind of looking for. And we also want to make sure that you're distributing your weight evenly between your feet. If we're looking at posture when you're standing, and when you're sitting, we'd want to see that you're not shifting too much to one buttock or the other one. You're staying quite, central and in the middle. And as physios, we look to see if any of those features are either exaggerated or they're kind of not there or they're missing. So by that I mean if you're very kyphotic, so that would mean that you're quite hunched over here. I'm looking to see, is that really bad? Is that worse than I would expect? And same with our lumbar spine as well. Have we got an accentuated curve there as well? So they're the things that we want to be having a look at. But the interesting thing is that actually there isn't any research to suggest that posture necessarily causes pain. So, you might have these changes with your posture, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to get any kind of pain with it. which is obviously good. But what we do have is if we are staying in one position for a really long time, then often that will cause us pain and discomfort. And over time, that's when it can lead to these changes that we see in these sort of, not deformities, but these differences that we see with a sort of our kyphotic posture and our really lordotic posture as well. So if, for example, we're looking at someone that is sitting down a lot, which a lot of people do for work. I'm fortunate being a physio, I'm up and about all the time. Sometimes I'm standing by my physio bed, sometimes I'm downstairs in the gym. But because I also run a business, sometimes I am sitting on my laptop, and I must admit my posture is not great. But there's a lot of people that just sit at their laptop all the time. And what we know is that staying in any one position for a long period of time isn't good. So if you are someone that's sitting at a desk all the time, move about regularly. Get up, go up and down the stairs, walk around, even change your position. So you could for a while sit on the sofa, you could go and sit at your desk for a bit, you could change it if you've got a standing desk, or you can go and work in the lounge, in the kitchen and that kind of thing. So they're the things that you can look at. But when we're sitting down for a long period of time, our pecs get very short and tight. So our pecs are these muscles on the front of our chest here, and they go all the way down. We've got our pectoralis minor here, pectoralis major here, and they both twist to insert into here, onto our humerus. And over time, what can happen is we start to do this. So these muscles become really short and really tight, and with that, we then can see that kyphotic posture where we start doing a bit of this. But equally, what then happens to our mid-back muscles, so the muscles in the middle of our back, hence mid-back, they often become weak and lengthened. So if we've got muscles in the middle of our back that are weak but also long, it means they're not able to contract as well as we would like to, and they're not going to support our posture when we're sitting at our desk or when we're standing. And then you end up in this cycle of you feel like your posture is bad, but it's hard to get it better because our pecs are short and tight and our mid-back muscles are weak. So, there's quite a few things to consider there. Then when we're sitting at desks all the time as well, if we're looking at our lower body, our hip flexors, so I'll show you where these are. Our hip flexors are here, down the front of our legs, sort of in front of our hips. Some of them attach onto our lower back as well, and then they come forward. One of our quadriceps muscles also acts as a hip flexor too, but they can get very shortened and very tight, so similar to our pec muscles, because if you're sitting all day, imagine that's your upper back, and then here is your legs. You can see that we create kind of this like right angle at our chair, and that's forcing our hip flexors to get really short and really tight. Our glute muscles, that's our bottom muscles, they are our anti-gravity muscles. They're going to help us go from sit to standing. They're going to help us go up and down stairs. They're going to help us run, jump, all of those fun things. But if they aren't as strong as we need them to be, that's when we often will get pain as well. And again, these muscles can become weakened and they can become lengthened as well. And that in turn can then lead to lower back pain, can lead to hip pain, discomfort, and sometimes that can refer down to our knees. And with regards to our upper body, often we will end up with neck pain, shoulder pain, mid-back pain if we have got these short and weak pecs, and we've got lengthened and weak mid-back muscles as well. So there's some things that we want to consider if we are sitting down for long periods of time. So how much does posture really impact us? Have a little think, feel how it kind of impacts you, and comment below as well to get involved. Because like I said earlier, posture is not necessarily the be all and end all, given that the research suggests that it's staying in one position for a long period of time rather than having lots of different kind of postures that maybe we would consider not ideal, but actually moving around is what's good. So if over time we are not moving enough, then we can develop these posture changes, like I was saying before, with our sort of kyphotic and our lordotic curves in our spine. This can then lead to other restrictions. So for example, if I'm quite hunched over, So I'm really hunching my back over, imagining I've been sitting at a desk for ages. If I then try and look down, I don't get quite as far. If I try and look up, I don't get anywhere near as far as if I'm doing this. I can look back way more. And your Dave has just said that he can't get used to sitting upright at his desk, and it almost feels unnatural. Exactly. And this is the changes that we have when we've been sitting for long periods of time. And we'll actually go through a few things in a minute that I think you'll find helpful for that. I think that a lot of people find that because you end up getting into this position, you're like, this is my comfortable position. As soon as you're trying to sit upright and squeeze your back muscles and all of that, it feels very uncomfortable. And that's why it's essential to do other things outside of that to kind of help combat it. To going back to what I was saying, if we're really hunched over here, I don't get anywhere near the amount of neck movement, for example. But the other thing that I also don't get is my shoulder movement. So if I'm hunched over here, I'm trying to take my headphones out at the same time, and I try and lift my arm above my head, it only gets to there. I can't get it any further. If my back is nice and straight, and I try and get my hand above my head, we go much further. So this is another thing that I do really look at with anyone that comes in with a shoulder injury. It might be that they injured it in the gym, but am I then seeing, after you've injured it in the gym, issues with your sort of middle of your back and the amount of movement that you've got there and your rotation, your extension? Is that maybe contributing to your shoulder pain as well? So there's a few different things that we will look at that we feel like might be contributing. And if you've got an excessive kind of lordotic curve, so when I'm saying lordotic curve, it's here. We want to have just a slight curve in, but we don't want to have anything too extreme. If you've got quite an extreme curve there, then we can end up really loading up the joints of the lower back and putting loads of pressure on them. And that can then end up leading to lower back pain, to glute pain as well. So how do we deal with this? That's the big thing. We've got sort of gone through what is posture, why is it important, but actually how do we resolve the issues that we might have been having with it? So the best way to combat this is exercise, which we all know is normally my answer to most things. But what we want to be doing for the upper body is focusing mainly on stretching of the pecs and strengthening of the mid-back muscles. For the lower body, we want stretching of the hip flexors and strengthening of the glutes. They're the ones that we mainly want to look at. And there's lots of nice and easy, simple exercises that you can do at home for this. So our pec muscles, you can do doorway stretches where you're sort of holding like this, or you're holding with your arms straight. Sometimes it just takes a bit of time to figure it out. With the stretches, we ideally want to be holding them for more than 30 seconds. I would actually, if you can tolerate it, hold for nearer 2 minutes, but build up that amount of time over time. You don't want to be going straight in at a 2-minute stretch and then feeling like you pulled something. So as with anything, build up slowly. If we're looking at our mid-back muscles, we don't have to be going to the gym and lifting loads of weights to be making a big difference. We can be at home doing what we'd call prone Ys, prone Is, prone Ts. So that would be me laying on my front, having my arms, both my arms are in this position here, at my sides, pulling them back, really squeezing my shoulder blade and going back again. Back. And same thing, you can do it with your arms above your head, do it with your arms straight out to the side. And the easiest way is going to have your arms by your side, just bringing them back behind you and then relaxing. And I think if you're doing them properly, you will realise just how hard they are. They're quite challenging exercises. You can also look on our Instagram. We do have quite a few videos of us doing those exercises, but please comment below if you would like the link to that. I will tag you in it so that you can see. But they're really effective exercises that you can do. If you are going to the gym, what you want to focus on is training your back more than your chest. So really we should be training our back about 3 times as much as we train our chest. The reason for that is when we're training our chest, there's only really 2 muscles that we're training. We're training our pec minor and our pec major that we mentioned earlier. With our back, we've got loads of different muscles that we can be training. We've got our lats, mid traps, upper traps, lower traps, rhomboid minor, rhomboid major. There is just so many in that area. I could list them for ages. So it's essential, if we are going to the gym, we are lifting heavier weights, that we're actually training our back more than our chest, that we're not encouraging that posture even more by the training that we're doing. And instead we can look at doing things like low rows, pendulate rows, face pulls, rear delt exercises that are going to work here. So there's quite a few different options for those. When we're looking at our lower body, hip flexors, you can try a hip flexor stretch. There's lots of different ones out there. One of the, what I would say is sort of the best ones and probably the easiest to do, I will try and show you now. There you go. So here I've got a 90-degree angle at my back knee, and you can't quite see my front knee, but that's also at a 90-degree angle. From this position here, I'm just really squeezing my bottom to get a nice stretch down the front. So if I switch my legs around here, I'm squeezing my bottom so that here I can really feel the stretch. The temptation for a lot of people is to do this. If I do that, I'm not going to get a good stretch here. And I'll explain the reason for that. So if you're not squeezing your glutes at the same time, so I've got to reset my camera now, there you go, not squeezing your glutes at the same time as doing your hip flexor stretch, then you're not going to get as good a stretch. Our muscles tend to work in pairs, so we've got agonist muscles and antagonist muscles, which means that one muscle is contracting and one muscle has to then stretch as a result. So with our hip flexor stretch, if we want to get our hip flexor stretching, then we have to get our glutes contracting because it forces the hip flexor to relax and it forces it to stretch. So that I would say is my favorite hip flexor stretch, and everyone I give it to in clinic is always like, wow, this makes quite a difference and this feels harder than I would expect it to feel, because so many people push into that range of motion. So that's the hip flexor stretch that I would again give a go to, sort of start with 30 seconds but try and work up to 2 minutes or more if you can. Then when we're looking at strengthening the glutes and just generally our posterior chain, so a posterior chain will include our hamstrings and our calves, the things that you can do for that would be hip thrust, double leg, single leg. You can do them at home off the sofa. You can put the cat in your lap, has a little bit of weight, move them up and down, put one of your children or your other half in your lap over lockdown. I was regularly hip thrusting my sister off the sofa so that we had a little bit of weight there still. So yeah, you can get a bit creative if you're not going into the gym or you don't want to go to the gym. And again, we've done those exercises on our Instagram. We'll happily send them to you, just ask. But other things like split squats, Romanian deadlifts, normal squats if you feel like you're confident doing them, and deadlifts as well. All of them are really good exercises to get your posterior chain strengthened, so then you don't get as much pain and discomfort if you are sitting down a lot, or even if you're standing up a lot. There's a lot of people we see here who are standing up all day and they also get back pain. They don't tend to suffer so much with neck pain, but it's pretty common for them to get back pain, or lower back pain specifically. So that's a few exercises there that will help you with that. So the last thing I want to talk about is, if this is only really appropriate if you work from a desk, but a lot of people do, and it's how to set your desk up properly. If you'd like a PDF of this, I've got a free PDF that I will happily send to you. Just comment below and just say free PDF, and I will grab your email for you and I'll email it to you. But what we want to make sure is that our feet are completely flat on the floor, and we want our legs, our thighs, to be parallel to the floor. So we don't want to have a chair too low, which means that our hip angle is kind of like this, but equally we don't have a chair too high where we're tilted up like that. So that's what you're looking for from a lower body perspective. From your upper body, you want your eyes about 15 to 17 inches away from the monitor, if you can, and you want the top of the monitor, so the top of your screen, in line with your eyes. You don't want to be having to look down at it. You don't want to be having to look up at it either. So there are a couple of things that you can try as well. We want to make sure with our wrist angle that we're ideally at kind of neutral, so we're typing away and it's all at neutral, or we're tilting slightly down. What we don't want to have happen is have our desk too high and we're having to tap away like that, because that's going to end up with then wrist and arm issues as well. And in the PDF there's also a bit of information about what colours will help you, and anything else, like having things on your desk, things that will help you concentrate. So like I said, if you want that PDF, then let me know. So that was a very quick whiz round of everything. So there we spoke about what is posture, what is sort of good posture, what happens if we're sitting down for long periods of time, and how much impact posture really has on us. Then went through some exercises, and we've just gone through your desk set up. So in summary, if you are getting any pain at all in your neck, shoulders, back, hips, and you feel like it might be kind of posture related, and whether that's static posture, so it's you're seated or you're lying, or your standing posture, or whether you think it's your dynamic posture, it's something you're doing when you're walking, running, lifting, then drop us a message, comment below. It is definitely something that we're going to be able to help you with, and something that we see a lot. So if anyone has any questions, now's the time to ask them. Let me know, and if not, then no worries. Cool, don't think we've got any questions, but if anyone does, or sometimes it comes to you afterwards, just drop me a message or write it on the Facebook group, because if you're thinking it, other people probably are too. And then, yeah, we will have a chat about it. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining. Bye.